Fire away. Let's go. I don't have an opening statement, mate.
Andy, James just told us you could see 8 offensive linemen involved by design in the season opener. What goes into kind of tailoring that with your offensive line coach, and what's your confidence level in the depth to kind of add that stability?
Yeah, I think I've talked before, maybe early in my first press conference, just that the development of them has been very obvious as a group. Credit to Coach Trout, Coach Leonard, Coach Q, and Sticks to do that, because to his point, if you were to say who's lineman number 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, there'd be some questions about trying to figure it out. So that's good that there's a lot of healthy competition there. How it looks, I think that's a position where when you have depth, that really shows up through the course of a season. And so to intentionally get guys into the game, either rotating in, by series or whatever it might be, to make sure that they're getting playing time and that you have a chance to continue to evaluate them as the season's going on. But then they're also getting playing time for when they do need to play a significant amount, that they're ready to go.
Andy, how would you describe the state of the offense to this point, and how have they adapted to a lot of the new stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. The state of the offense. I wish I had some sort of presidential writer, you know what I mean? Half would boo and half would cheer, you know what I mean? One of those kind of things. I've been pleased. And I've commented before about how I just care that our guys are getting better every day, and that is evident. We are definitely a better football team from the very first practice I was part of this spring to now. In every one of those, we've had growth. They're never going to be perfect. I think that it's very natural for us as coaches to be critical and never be satisfied. I think that's why we're sitting in the chairs that we do. And so I don't know that we're ever going to leave a game or a practice and be like, gosh, that was perfect. But I am pleased because the mistakes that we make, we're correcting. Everyone is coachable and willing to grow.
Andy.
Hey, Bo, thanks for just taking the crowd, man. See Bo's here. You guys ever go? Good-looking Bo's here. Okay, anyway, go ahead.
Andy, in the past game last year, in terms of protecting the ball, they probably would have got an A+, right? Mm-hmm. But in pushing the ball aggressively down the field, maybe less so. So how and why do you change that while keeping the ball protection as a priority?
Yeah. So what you're talking about is how do you mitigate risk and still be explosive, right? You know what I mean? Well, it goes with design. It goes with some intentions about what explosive plays look like and are. Obviously, people think about explosive plays and think about shots down the field, perhaps. And that might be part of it, but that's not going to be all of it, right? So the intention of maybe setting up plays that are complementary, the intention of putting your players in their best position possible to succeed, and the intention to make sure that you are pressing the ball down the field enough, and that you do have a plan or a vision for how much that needs to occur. Now, obviously, if people are just playing way back, you can't just rip it down the field aimlessly, but to have things that are complementary, to have those opportunities to do it.
Andy, you had mentioned, I think it was during your opening press conference this year of the fall camp, about mastering one position on the offensive line, but also still getting work at a different one. I believe is how you phrase it. Is that similar to what the receivers do, where you kind of have a home base and then you learn a different position, or is it really fluid where any guy can play any position running any route? Yeah,
I would say that it's fluid, but we are thoughtful in that, hey, today this guy is going to play X, and then maybe 2 days from now he's going to play all Z. Sometimes maybe if a person's going to miss part of practice, that happens organically and it forces us to have to do that. But I always challenge all of our players, and really not just receivers and linemen, but to really diversify your skill set. They all want to play at the next level, and we want that for them. Playing at the next level, you have to be a diverse player. You can't just be, I'm only the left tackle. If you want to play and stay, you have to have some diversity to your skill set. And so we want to intentionally be able to train players to do a lot of those things. We talked about the O-line before, so sometimes it's about moving that around a little bit. We've talked about the receivers, the backs doing things beyond just taking handoffs. So you have to kind of your plan, your curriculum, if you want to call it that, through spring, summer, and fall has to include moving around and cross-training players.
Is there an asset or a facet of complementary skill sets out there, in terms of even tight end, receiver, running back, getting enough of different things on the field?
Yeah, yes, to your point, you can't have a bunch of slow people, right? And you can't have a bunch of really fast, weak people. right? So when you think about complementary people, I think maybe more about putting them out there to do the things that they do well, right? So if we have an elite speed player, put him in position to utilize his elite speed. If we have a great change of direction or physical, whatever, receiver, put him in a position to do that. If you have a tight end who's better at blocking versus receiving, put those guys in positions. I know that sounds cliche, like, yeah, Doug, coach, I play Madden and then the new college 20 football game, so I know how to do that. But actually getting players to execute those things, and more importantly as coaches to reflect and really have enough evidence to feel confident in saying that this player can do this really well. He'll be able to do that for us on Saturdays. And feel confident the others, so don't put him to do these positions because I don't know if he's going to consistently be able to do it. Like that's hard. Like you have to be awake and you have to be cognizant of those reps when you see him practice.
Andy, James talked about.
Well, it's a fight. What do we want to do? Okay.
What are kind of those explosive play metrics that you go by? I know some coaches go to 16 yards, some do it a little bit differently. What are your kind of
Coach here has always adopted the runs of 12 and passes of 15. I think you look at other statistical analytical companies and they're going to tell you gains of 20, things like that. So we do 12 run 15 pass is pretty universal. A lot of people use that, but any play over 20 is pretty good.
do you have a certain percentage? Like I know sometimes coaches will OCs will say, hey, we want to X amount of our plays be explosive gains, or
yeah, if you can be around 15%, you're doing pretty good. You know what I mean? If you're 15% of your offensive snaps are pretty good. Yeah, that would be that's a good number. That's kind of a goal that you have. Of course, some of those can be offset with turnovers and vice versa, right? So you can be a good offense if you protect it. The bottom line is you got to score. And people talk about explosive plays, and we talk about explosive plays because there's a lot of statistical data to demonstrate that if you score, or if you're going to go on a scoring drive, you're going to have explosive plays in that drive. That's how it happens.